Hey, just me. There's a campaign going on the 31st Bell Let's Talk. It's all about depression, and I just thought I would share my story or whatever about a few years back going through a quote depressive episode and what that was like, how it felt, and as a way to help people to understand what this is. Um, what it isn't is attention getting. Uh, the last thing you want when you're going through a depressive episode is people's attention on you. You want everyone to leave you alone. You want to be left alone. You actually want to hide. You don't want to have anything to do with the outside world. As little as possible is best. When you're going through this, you don't want to put on makeup. You don't want to look pretty. You don't want to get dressed. You don't want to do any of the things, your favorite things, which usually make you happy, because they don't make you happy. You actually don't really feel anything other than hopelessness, sadness, despair, and anxiety to a large degree. Every day you wake up thinking, tomorrow will be better. I know it will be. And it isn't. Tomorrow is the same. And you wonder when the end will come, when it's actually gonna stop. So that's what it's like. You don't want to feel this way, but you don't seem to be able to change it, to do anything about it with regard to making it feel better. You are riding it out, as I was. I know there's different causes of this. There's different things that trigger it. It was a couple different things in my case. One of them was organic and one of them wasn't. However, since then I've had some episodes, milder maybe, but I mean, it's still there. And when I look back over my life, I can see that, you know what, it was there all along. I've had that before. I've had it a few times in my life. But one thing about it is, even though you don't want to talk to people, it's something that you must do, because it's what helps you to cope and understand why you're feeling that way. In my case, I could see where some thinking on my part was perhaps contributing somewhat, some of my actions. So I know what triggers it in my case, not to get overscheduled and not to get so bogged down in something called all or nothing thinking, where if I don't do this, then this will happen, and there's no happy medium, there's no in between. There's just it's all or it's nothing kind of thing. When you think that way, yeah, that's a baddie. And just thinking about it, and it was really hard. It was really, really hard. I've always fancied myself as being a very solitary person. I like being by myself. I like being alone with my thoughts. But in this case, my thoughts were really the problem. They were partially the problem, I should say. Not completely. There was also an organic cause as well that contributed a bit. But, it's eventually it did lessen, and I got to the point where I could handle things again, and I found a reason to smile again, and it was good that I did that. So it was hard. It was very, very hard. One of the hardest things about it was talking to my healthcare professional about it. Honestly, that's what I found difficult. I remember sitting in her office and her asking me the question. Whenever you're depressed, they always want to know, did you ever think of harming yourself? It's really hard to have to answer that question. In my case, I was putting off going to see a healthcare professional because I didn't want to be put on pills, because I was afraid that in my current mental state I might take a few of those pills, a few too many. And so that was really hard to admit that. It's tough even to talk about it right now. But in my case, thank goodness it didn't last very long. It was maybe a couple weeks or so. And then I finally felt better. I went through a little mini one not that long ago. And so certain things can trigger it. And I just have to know or have to beware. When I'm going through it, I'm going through it. To ride it out and to try not to reinvent the wheel while I'm going through it. So, depression is real. Depression is something that you can't just click your fingers and snap yourself out of. It takes time. Sometimes it takes counseling. Sometimes it takes medication. And sometimes it just takes, like I said, time for it to pass and for you to feel better. In my case, it was a little bit of counseling, it was a little bit of time. And it's just, loving yourself and learning about yourself. And so that's what it's like. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I felt like I was in the bottom of a deep black pit and I had no way out. There was no hope. There was no light. There was nothing to look forward to. There was nothing good. And feeling like that, I felt another thing. I felt shame for feeling like that. I had a happy life. I had everything I could ever ask for. I have a loving husband, a beautiful family. I have everything I've ever wanted. So why the hell was I so sad? It didn't make any sense. It still doesn't. But depression is like that. It doesn't make sense. So if you're struggling with it, I know it feels hopeless, but it isn't completely. Get help. I know it's hard to talk to people. Believe me, I wanted to eat glass more than I wanted to talk to anybody about it. It was not a good thing. I did not want to talk to anybody about it. I would just rather stay in bed under my blankets and just lay there, waiting for whatever horrible thing was going to happen to me. It's just how I felt. So if you're struggling, get help. Talk to someone. It's the hardest thing you're going to do, and yet you must do it if you're going to be well. So, anyways, that's my truth. That's my story. And my heart is with anybody out there that's suffering with this right now. I'm with ya. It's hard. But you know what? You'll get through it. You will. Bye.